All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Amit from D54. New background, new setting, minimal. Let me know what you guys think. This is temporary while something happens in my study. But yeah, let me get on to the movie, guys. I watched Manjummel Boys yesterday, and yep, it was a hell of a movie, guys. I really enjoyed this movie, straight up. No suspense at all. I enjoyed this movie. If you think you're going to come in and hear a bad review about this movie, I'm sorry. If you are the minority of people that I guess didn't like this movie. But so it came to cinema in Melbourne here around, I think 2 or 3 days ago. So I know it's been out for quite a while. So it's taken a bit of a late approach in Melbourne, as a lot of movies, Malayalam movies do, in Melbourne here, unfortunately. But hey, I'm glad I got to see this in the cinema at all. So I appreciate that. And, coming in, I'll give you a bit of my cinema experience to start with, guys. Like, this movie was jam-packed. Okay, so there were people in maybe not the front row, but maybe third from the front. That's sort of how packed it was. Like, it was really full. There were families, there were couples, there were people of all ages. It was like a real, a movie anyone can go see. If I compare that with the last movie I saw in cinema, Brahma Yugam, which was absolutely amazing, but I can count on my hands how many people were in the cinema for that movie. It wasn't a lot. So this movie definitely is having a lot of commercial success. And to give you an insight as to how well it's doing here in Melbourne specifically, normally Malayalam movies here have one show once a day, from what I've seen, at least what I've experienced. Most of them, sometimes they have two. And, the fact that this movie was packed in my cinema, it was also playing concurrently in another cinema, in the same complex, basically at the same time almost, and that was also full. I know this because when I was booking tickets, I tried to book it for the first screening, which was at 9:15 p.m. It was completely full. I think there were a couple seats in the front, so I didn't book that one. Then I went to the 9:30 one, and there were a couple more seats. At the time of booking, I was able to get one at the back, but when I got to the cinema, I saw it was completely full. So two shows playing at the same time, completely jam-packed. So yeah, this movie is doing very successfully commercially. And it deserves to. I'm really happy to see Malayalam cinema just keep growing like this. It's fantastic. It makes me so happy as a Malayalam film content creator who just absolutely loves this industry. I'm so glad to see it. Movies like Manjummel Boys doing so well. It's just great. But onto the movie itself, guys. So, I came in kind of blind. I did do a trailer reaction. And, from that, and I saw the song that they put out as well, the promotional song, the hip-hop rap song, before as well. So I came in with a little bit of knowledge about what this movie is about, and I'd heard a little bit about what the movie is about, but I'm someone that doesn't look too much into movie reviews or spoilers and things like that, because I really like to watch movies by myself, and I really don't like them to be spoiled. So I really didn't look into that much, but I'd heard it had just got so much praise overall, but I didn't really know what it was really about. Now, part of me kind of hoped and kind of wished it was maybe more of a comedy in some ways. I don't know why I had that expectation, guys. I think it might be just because, the fact that there's a whole bunch of boys getting together, going on a trip, maybe that concept itself made me think of a road trip and some of the fun they were having. So there'd be a bit more comedy involved. It might have been the fact that there was a hip hop song that came out, which kind of doesn't fit the tone of a somber survival thriller kind of movie. It could have been that it had Soubin Shahir, and the last time I saw Soubin Shahir with an ensemble cast with a whole lot of boys was in Roman Jam, which is the complete opposite to this movie. So it might have been some of those factors playing with me unconsciously. But look, if you're thinking this is a comedy, guys, no. It's not a comedy. And I'll try and keep this movie... Look, it's going to have spoilers because it's already 2 weeks old. And I'm going to have to... if you haven't seen it yet, I'll say right now, please go out and watch it. And if you don't want it to be spoiled, then probably don't listen to this all the way. I'd recommend to go and watch it first and then listen to this. Unless you don't mind spoilers, then listen away. But essentially with this movie, guys, I'm going to start with the first half. Now, the first half does a lot of different things. I think it does some things well. But if I'm completely honest, I feel the first half, if there is any weakness in this movie, it's probably around the first half. So I think what it does really well in the first half is it establishes the whole tug of war concept. And, these guys, basically having a lot of strength and being like a team unit, they're a friendship that's also bound by something that's also, you embody that sort of team spirit to a team sport, Tug of War. Now, I'd love to know more about Tug of War, guys, because I've seen this play out in only in one or two movies. The only other movie I saw this really play out in was Nate, which is, I think they had a little tug of war thing with the police academy at the start of the movie. So it looks like it's a pretty popular thing. I'd love to know, is this something that a lot of people just do in Kerala? Is it across all of India, or is it more localized to just the Kerala region? Is it like something you do like as a equivalent to like, maybe like a football or like a cricket? Is it in that kind of sphere? Or is it something that's done more as, is it more like a kabaddi kind of thing? We'd love to know more information, guys, about this, because going forward, I'd love to just have more knowledge going in about this specific sport, I guess, if you want to call it like that. But yeah, it does a few things well. So, it builds that camaraderie. It builds the fact that there's a whole bunch of these guys together, and it sort of also shows them in their youth and what they're like, like they're kind of, honestly, in some ways, they're kind of hooligans. They go to other places, they're loud, they're running in places, they're running out of places, they're, making jokes, they're having fun, drinking a lot publicly. Like it's a lot there. They do a little bit with setting up some of the character stories, with Sreenath Bhasi's character, basically, with his mother and stuff like that in like a 3-minute scene. It seems like Soubin's like, the leader of the pack, I guess in some ways you can tell that from the start. So there's a few things going on. They introduce us to the driver at the start, so he comes on the trip for that reason. Okay, they do a few things well. Now, I feel like maybe that could have been done a little bit better. Like, you could have probably used the first half to establish maybe a bit more of an emotional connection with some of the characters. As I said, there's 9 characters, so it's hard to sort of keep track and know who is who, but I completely understand why they didn't do that and how it would have been difficult to do that, just due to the fact that, this is based off a real life story. So maybe they couldn't embellish it so much. They didn't want to show things that didn't actually happen. At the end of the day, these are a whole bunch of friends that really got together, and maybe there's nothing deeper there. So they don't want to embellish the truth by doing that. But some part of me tells me maybe you could have taken some creative licenses and put something, but it's a really difficult game to play there. So I understand why that wasn't possible. But I guess that emotional connection, because when we get to the second half and what happens with Sreenath Bhasi's character, in Subhash, we see him, experience something that's pretty tragic, but, the emotional connection is a little bit less because we just are not connected to this character so much. So a lot of the heavy lifting, take that as a pun if you like, is really, in the second half and what they sort of explore there. And the second half is where this movie shines. I think this movie's second half is just fantastic. Like, as soon as we hit the interval point, from then on, it really becomes serious. Like, it really becomes really serious as to what is going on and how hard it's going to be for these guys to get through this. It's crazy what these guys had to defy, man. Because it wasn't just the challenges was not just physical in actually, going down this world. Everything was against them. Like, every single thing was against them. The fact that, it's kind of cursed. And the local people don't want anything to do with it. They accept it as fate. That you fall down, you fall down. That's it. And then the other parts was essentially, the police and everyone involved, not everyone, but a lot of people involved do not want to get involved with this at all. They see it as a lost cause. They've been through the situation before and they're talking from experience. They've basically given up on this whole task. So, they have a lot of stuff against them. And, there are some really defiant scenes in this, guys. Some really defined scenes when Soubin Shahir sort of puts his body on the line to sort of block the flow of water, and everybody comes together to try and stop the flow of water, and the devastation that all the characters have on their faces, it's really well done. The performances in this movie, I commend all the actors in this movie for what they did, because they don't have a lot to work with in this movie, if I'm completely honest. Like, the storyline is pretty bare. There's not too much of a backstory. There's not too much for them to really play around with as actors. So whatever they're doing in this movie, they've done fantastically. Everyone, like, there's a lot of unknown faces for me, and I know there's a lot of sort of actors who might have been in sort of side roles and things like that before. Soubin Shahir and Sreenath Bhasi are the ones I recognize, and Soubin Shahir, obviously, I know, and I absolutely love Soubin Shahir and everything he does and everything he brings. And I think he was probably the standout for me, especially if he did the sun work in the second half. And speaking of that, when we go to the parts where they basically can hear his voice and that moment of, like, hope, I guess, it's just, it's a game changer, because from then on, the whole movie takes a whole different path. And I love the fact that despite this movie being so singularly focused that, you know, we're just basically going to follow Soubin Shahir down a hole for about half an hour. It is so engaging and so well done. And a lot of that has got to do with, I guess, you know, everything around this movie's cinematography, around this movie's music, the production value of this movie. It's fantastic, guys. It's really good. I think that adds so much. There's particular scenes when Sreenath Bhasi's character, Subhash, is down in the well, and we get this like atmospheric feeling, and a lot of that has to do with the music. We see the cave; it's kind of having like hallucinations, but the music is swelling up. It's surrounding you. It's so well done. You almost feel like things are building up, and they're gonna just break. Oh, the whole scene when he's climbing up and down. There's so much claustrophobia in that. If you're somebody that's claustrophobic and gets tense in these situations, it might be hard to watch, if I'm completely honest. Because yeah, there's moments of, I guess, you're scared. You're scared for these characters and if they're going to make it through. The challenges they have, you know, to get there. And especially, yeah, the whole journey of Soubin Shahir going down, picking up the, you know, Sreenath Bhasi's character, you know, this relationship between Kutan and Subhash. They do, as I said, explore that relationship and that friendship a little bit more during the second half. I think the moment that really stuck out to me was the fact when, you know, all the policemen from Tamil Nadu are basically like saying, we can't go down. We can't risk our lives. Like, no one's going to take care of us. No one's going to take care of our families. We know this. It's not going to work out for us. And you have the moment when Soubin's character comes out and he basically says, look, I'm going to go down, you know, send me down. What's going to happen now? The amount of fortitude and bravery it takes to do something like that is unbelievable. Like, you know, it's just unbelievable for that to happen. So, you know, and I love the line when he's talking to one of his mates and then he's basically saying, like, you know, what would you do in my situation or something like that? And he says, if you don't go, I'll go. It just tells you the fact that, you know, these guys are all willing to go, but I guess Soubin establishing himself as a leader and the elder of the group goes himself. So well done, man. It's so heart-wrenching to see this. And I have to say, that moment when they pick up Subhash from the sort of well and you exit the well, oh my God, man. Yeah, tears, swelled up eyes, like, you know, it wasn't just me that was sniffling. The people next to me, I'm pretty sure I heard some people, you know, get pretty emotional about this because it's hard not to. It's hard not to, man. Like, the movie does such a good job of taking you on that journey that even though you're not that connected with the characters, honestly, I kind of forgot about the first half and all that they were doing then. You really just forget. I forgot about the fact that we don't know much about this character. All we know is that there's two friends that care deeply for each other. There's one friend who wants to get his friend out, and that's all that matters to him and everybody. So, you know, I'm happy to just skip past all the criticisms that I said in the first half because the second half makes up for it tenfold. Now, to sort of end the movie, I think is also fantastic what they do. Because after all that's done, obviously this is a traumatic event that everyone's gone through. You know, it's not something that can sort of get past. And the fact there's a sort of misunderstanding between, or lack of understanding because of, you know, the media that's been pushed out and how Soubin is treated. You know, Kutan's treated basically in public, you know, by especially Subhash's mother. It's hard to watch that, man. Like, he's getting basically abused after what he's done for this guy. Like, defying everything to save somebody like that. And that moment, it's all in, there's no dialogue at all, but there's a moment when Subhash's mom comes and just breaks down in front of Kutan, and oh my God, that scene hit me, like, personally, like, oh my God, like, so much. It was heart-wrenching to see that, man. It really was. So yeah, that's basically my review, guys. There's not really much more I have to say. I will give a shout out to two people who have given me information about this movie. The Norway Machan, thank you for giving me some insights about the movie in general, about Guna Caves, the connection it has with Kamal Hassan, and all that stuff. And also to Bibin, a friend of the show, friend of the program. He sort of shared with me some trivia about this movie and the fact that essentially, you know, the tug of war team at the start of the movie that we saw, they were actually the actual Manjummel Boys. So that's a nice little I'm happy that they got a spot in the movie as well because of what they went through. And he also shared with me like an interview that was conducted, and there are English subtitles. As for this movie, guys, I absolutely love this movie. As a final thought, it was so well done. I have to give a lot of credit to the director for making a movie like this and making it so engaging and suspenseful, because it's hard. It's a hard movie to do. This is a difficult movie to do, when you don't have too much, to do. You really have to be a really great director and be able to create scenes that capture us as an audience. Shusham Shine's music was obviously sensational. Look, I know the guy makes great music and great, in his music videos, but his score in this movie was just next level, guys. I can't wait to actually listen to the OST by itself because it was so good, and it makes so much of this movie so well. And also the visuals, which I didn't mention, the visuals of this movie are fantastic. However they captured, especially like the twists and turns, the ups and downs which Soubin has to do to get Subhash's character out of the well, is just it's unbelievable, like what he has to do and get through. So the way they shot that was fantastic. Dark light photography is really difficult. However they created that to make it feel realistic and not over the top and still feel, engaging, was fantastic. The only part that really gets me thinking, man, and I'd love to know your guys' opinion on this. They mentioned that this has happened to 13 other people. Why did it take so many people for them to actually just cover that well? That's one part I didn't really get at the end when they're sort of putting the plank. They're putting the plank of the protection on top of the well. It's like you let 13 other people go down this well, and now you're doing this. That was a little bit confusing. I know there's a whole bunch of bats there, so I hope there's another entrance that they can get out of or something like that, because yeah, that's not really nice if those bats are just stuck there. But that's the only part that confused me a little bit. That sort of, why did it take so long to do that? But look, I can forget that. That's fine. It's a movie, and I go in to watch movies and enjoy movies, and I enjoyed this movie. So, guys, thank you for listening to me. I appreciate everyone that's commented in my comment section telling me to go watch this, and praising it and then letting me know. And, thank you, because, yeah, I truly enjoyed it, and I would love to know your thoughts on this movie. So please, please, please drop a comment. Let me know what you think, and I would love to chat to you guys about it.